I say we mash the two of these together and see what happens in the latest GotBot True review. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe while you're at it, light 'em up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton. And it lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that in the description down below. Also in the description down below. And if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. You can check us out on Patreon. You can see what we have to offer to you through Spring. Or, of course, you can hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member. And we have the original Revenge of the Fallen Jetfire, the original Revenge of the Fallen Optimus Prime. These are two phenomenal, fantastic leader class offerings. I would say the Optimus is better than the Jetfire, just because the Jetfire has a lot of kibbly junk on him. And I think the Optimus has a bit of a better reputation than the Jetfire. But I like both of them, and I looked at them in episode 999, no, sorry, 998, 999. Then we skipped an episode because in episode 1000 we actually done a Nerdvana story, and now we're going to kind of finish off this trio of reviews by mashing these two together to get the original Jetwing Optimus Prime. Is it good? Is it functional? I've heard, you know, some good about it. I've heard some bad about it. I've heard some people tout it and say, even to this day, it's fantastic. I've heard other people say it's very limited and it doesn't stay together well. We're going to kind of see how well they work together, because individually, I like them both. So without any further ado, how about we head over to the table and take a closer look at these two together. And here we are at episode 1001. It is part 3. It is going to be Jetwing Optimus Prime. The amalgamation of these two guys. This is the original one, not, of course, the Studio Series one. By the way, I hope you guys enjoyed episode 1000, which was a Nerdvana story, where we took a look at good friend of the channel, Cyril's collection. He has, you know, lent a number of things to me over the years and whatnot, so it was enjoyable to get to kind of showcase him and do something special and different for episode 1000. But we're back to business here. I'm going to show each of these and how we get them into, like, prepped for their combined mode, and then I'm going to put them together. I'm probably going to have it put together off screen, because it's a lot of things that kind of got to peg in, and it's a bit of a nuisance to try and do it, because really what you're doing is sort of taking both of them and jamming them together. But I will talk about where I begin in order to accomplish that task. However, before we look at either of the lads, let's look at this blaster that's going to become Optimus's. I mentioned when I did the Jetfire review how we will take his cane and it will go in these two holes here. So we basically take his cane and I'm going to put it in one of the holes right there, and we're going to bring it around into the other hole right there, and boom, here we have the blaster put together. And Optimus will hold it via a little rectangular handle that you flip down back there. Pretty good blaster, I guess. Alright, let's get Optimus prepared to kind of be attached. So really a lot for Optimus depends on the back. So we take this off and we rotate it down. They say all the way down, but I find I need to leave it out a little bit to the side for the connection and then rotate it down after. And we rotate that one down. Then we open out this and bring this around and bring it all the way out to the side. Then same over here, we open this out and we bring it all the way down and around and then all the way out to the side. There are, I guess there's a piece on Jetfire that will go up under his pelvis, and there's a rectangular slot there. That's where I begin. I always peg in the pelvis first. There are two pegs up here, they'll go in after, and there's a couple of other pieces that kind of go over the top up here on Optimus. And then there's these soft, rubbery pieces, and they both come out around the front here and kind of go in around Optimus's tummy. Now, that being said, we also need to deal with the feet, and the way the feet go is basically, and I just pulled the foot off. That's okay. I'll show you how it goes with that foot pulled off of the ball peg. So here's Optimus's foot. Naturally, it's supposed to stay on the ball peg, but you will bring it up basically like that, right? You're going to straighten out the foot and then leave this as it is, and this will go down under the foot of Jetfire. You'll see when we get there. So in essence, in the end, this is the way Optimus will look. So that's part 1 done. Okay, so for Jetfire next, this side is done. This leg is done, this arm is done. This piece comes out. This rectangular tab here is what goes up under the pelvis of Optimus. That's what I tab in first. To do the legs, basically, by the way, Optimus's feet will come down underneath right here. We close up the foot, we take the knee and turn it all the way around, we push this leg back, and when we do that, we're going to kind of push the foot back and bring this piece out. And now he can kind of sort of stand up. As for the arm, we bend it at, we leave the shoulder up, but we bend it at the shoulder. Get that piece behind. And then we rotate the whole thing so that it's forward. And then these pieces, they will come in over part of Optimus. These here, these 2 peg holes here will go into the 2 blue pegs on the back of Optimus's backpack that I showed earlier. His feet will go down underneath, but it all begins with tabbing this piece in. It is very inelegant putting it together. I'm just going to do it, and then we'll take a look at him all combined up. But I start here, then I do the feet next, and then finally I push the rest of the body in and get these pieces notched in and get the chest pieces notched in, and then he's done. And boom, here we have our boy all combined up. I should probably fix that over there. So these pieces on the back can move all around. These pieces up here, I mean, they're just the arms, so you have the shoulder and the elbow and stuff, and you can do anything you want with those. The head of Optimus is still free flowing. His shoulders and his bicep and his elbow and his forearm stuff, all of that is still pretty free flowing. Obviously you can't go all the way around, but you can certainly move the arms. The legs, because you have his legs attached to Jetfire's legs, the limitations of Jetfire's legs kind of come over here. Now, you can manipulate the ankle hinge here a little bit, but you might undo the foot. You can bend the knee a little bit, but you got to move other parts with it. From the waist down, it's a fairly solid connection, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best connection. In fact, there's an argument that you could just attach the pelvis and the 2 sections around the front of his tummy and not attach the feet at all. And that way you still have range of motion in the knees. To do the transformation to get here, it's really not that bad, honestly. The worst part is trying to mash everything together, and there's no elegant way to do it. You just mash it together, right? I'm going to say, though, that to get Optimus prepared and to get Jetfire prepared is quite easy. I'm going to give that a 10. To smash them together is about an 8, so overall transformation is about a 9. The look looks like, I don't know if it looks exactly like the movie, but it's obviously Optimus with a ton of Jetfire parts. It looks good. I'm going to give that a 9. And the articulation, like I said, we have the head that can go left and right. The arms can still go in and out. We still have the elbow and the bicep. He's holding on to that Jetfire blaster. The legs I'm not going to move. You can, but it's a bit of work because of how they're connected together. These pieces up here can all move and go up and do what you like with them. Same with these back here, even though they're supposed to be in like that. I mean, if you wanted them down on his back, like, do it. Or if you want them up straight, do it. It's up to you. If you want them over his shoulders, you can do that. So there's a lot of options there. The articulation, considering what's hodgepodged together here, isn't that bad. I wish the legs were a little more free-flowing, but like I said, if you really want, you can disconnect them. You're going to have a lot of Jetfire leg hanging off the back, but it is an option. That's something you can do if you're so inclined. I'm going to give the articulation for what it is we're trying to work around here. I'm going to give it, again, about an 8. Overall, I think this, for the time, you know, is about an 8, and I think, honestly, even now, it's still about an 8, and there is something very, very impressive about it. I mean, here he is next to Commander Class Siege Shattered Glass? Commander Class Siege Shattered Glass Jetfire. And like, he's basically the size of a Combiner Wars Combiner or the Legacy Menasor or, of course, Jetfire, right? So you get an idea of how big this guy is. He's about 1 foot tall, roughly, you know, 11 to 12 inches tall. That's pretty impressive. Kind of astonishing. They were both big bots by themselves. Together, they come in at about 1,100 grams. This is super impressive. And for what you had to pay at the time for each of these leaders, honestly, it was a tremendous value for money. I've heard that this Jetwing Optimus Prime, for a lot of people, isn't solid. I find him super solid. And a lot of people have said that both of these guys are very difficult to transform. I don't find that. With Optimus, I just find these red pieces a challenge, especially going back to truck mode. And with Jetfire, maybe the two panels behind his head, but that's a tolerance issue more than anything else. And going back to jet mode, the very rare piece, the piece that makes this blaster, pegging that back in. Couple of very minor things. Overall, I think they're both very tremendous, even now somewhat 13 or so years later. And here we are, and here they are. Now, I don't have them together here, but just because it's easier to hold them this way, to be honest with you. But, you know, first things first, Jetfire is pretty good by himself, overall. The knees are definitely weird and probably his biggest weakness, outside of all the paneling stuff, if you don't like that. The Optimus is great. The only real weakness I can kind of tout for him would be the like tummy rib pieces. And I do wish that these guys had waists. Small price to pay for everything else that's done so very right. When they're together, they are imposing. They are heavy. It is impressive. I can't possibly understand how people say that they're not solid together. Yeah, they are. If you got the pelvis piece tabbed in, if you got the parts wrapped around Optimus's tummy, that's all great. Now, I will concede that maybe the feet section could tab in a little bit better than what it does, but I would venture to say from like the waist up, basically, it works great. And Optimus pretty much retains most, if not all, of his articulation. From the waist down, it would have been nice if they found an easier, better way to incorporate the Jetfire legs with the Optimus legs, because I do feel like while you could get some dynamic poses and whatnot, overall, the legs become far more hindered because now you have two legs that would need to move in unison, and one of those are the Jetfire legs that are pretty odd and don't exactly move the way typical legs do. Can you fake around some of it? Sure you can. Together, are they great? Absolutely. Are they better than the Studio Series? Probably not, although to be fair, I've never reviewed the Studio Series Jetfire, and I certainly haven't reviewed the combined form. But I have always heard and seen how that tends to look and how solid that tends to be. I don't know what the weaknesses are. I will admit that. Each of these are hefty by themselves. Oh, by the way, the Optimus, when I done his review and talked about his mass, I didn't realize that he had batteries in him that could come out. I always thought the battery pack was the battery pack. My mistake. Nevertheless, still really impressive, still tremendous offerings, whether together or apart. Jetwing Optimus Prime is still formidable and still impressive all these years later. Let me know what you think about each of these guys and them together as Jetwing Optimus Prime. I appreciate you coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. You can check us out on Patreon. You can see what we have to offer to you through Spring, or of course you can hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member. While you're at it, why not hit the subscribe button, man? Stick around and have some fun with us. Why not? And especially remember that somehow, some way, each and every single day, you do make a difference. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way, right here inside the videos.